As some of you know already, I've been trying to convince beautiful, beautiful Greta Thunberg to include some of the science itself in her lectures, to talk about the chemistry, to talk about the way that carbonic acid forms in the ocean, and not just allude to the scientific issues. One of the things that happened in the 80s that convinced me that the problems might be intractable was that I was getting a ride home from someone I met through an imposter who came to an imposter school where I was invited by an imposter rock star to whom I had tried to convince lyrics about the climate and ecology problem were called for. This man was introduced to me through the imposter who was there when I met this rock star. And he was a retired Pentagon official named Jim Hagerman. A place called Commerce Plaza back in the days when John Stockwell of the CIA was following me on my birthday, long before I knew that Trump was working with Paul McCartney and that they were playing their war game with Midori Goto in my subconscious, so to speak. Well, these impingers had set me up, but Jim seemed to be a nice man. He was just giving me a ride home, and I asked him about what the Pentagon wasn't more interested in doing something to protect the environment. He said, well, it is widely believed in the Pentagon that the Earth just isn't going to make it. And I said, well, why aren't you doing something about it? He said, who cares? I've lived a good life. Greta, or her friends, if you're listening, what's happening is that they're doing the minimum necessary to save face. It's widely believed among that crowd that there isn't going to be anything for future generations. And the way that they're saving face is by allowing us to talk about it and so forth, sort of. I'll give you an example of some of the issues that are going on that don't get talked about. We're dealing with people who see things in terms of the immediacy, the fast response to climate change, not the slow response. Many of which slow responses are assumed to be slower than they've proven to be. We're being surprised by some of the issues that pertain to response times, but fast responses in hours to weeks, daily heating and cooling, gradual buildup of heat wave, hours to month. Daily heating of upper ground surface, midwinter freezing and thawing. Days to months. Afternoon heating of upper few feet, warmest beach temperatures late in summer. Hours to decades or centuries. Sudden leaf kill by frost. Slow growth of trees to maturity. Weeks to years. Late winter maximum extent historical changes near Iceland. Slow responses, 10 to 100 years. Widespread glacier retreat in the 20th century. 100 to 1500 years, time to replace ocean deep water. 100 to 10,000 years, advances, retreats of ice sheet margins, growth, decay of entire ice sheet. Now I want to ask you, Is it smart to tamper with these forces? Can you imagine how long it's going to take to reverse some of the slow forces that we have meddled with if they go into feedback loops? Feedback loops, initial climate forcing, and then the response is amplified by the climate system. I'm going to go into feedback loops entirely in my next video, but I want you to contemplate in the meantime my question. Is it smart to tamper with virtually irreversible processes?